As the crypto correction continues to trudge onwards, it is time to be looking at some of the underlying market dynamics that can give us an idea of how exactly mature we are within this current segment of the market cycle. With that said, welcome back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown again today. And we're going to be looking at some alternative data over here, if you will. We'll also go through a quick fire of the altcoin analysis similar to yesterday. And I want to say very big thank you for all of the feedback on that. That was awesome, actually. It's very easy to do. And we can run through, however many we can get through as time allows. Want to make these videos nice and digestible. And if you find that valuable, maybe even consider leaving a like on the videos as well. Also, if you think that a Bitcoin analysis, a more in-depth Bitcoin analysis would be valuable to you, then I do have my own channel where I do exactly that on a daily basis, and some live stream fun action as well, where we go over some altcoin analysis in a little bit more depth as well. And that is found in the link in the description below. Okay, so for today, we're going to do something a little bit different. So this is my own app over here. It's 100% free. You can find it for yourself at app.crowntrading, Krown with K.net. And all we're going to do is we're going to go over and reference something that gets spoken about a lot, but I don't really see it spoken about in this vein. So what I'm referencing here is the Fear and Greed Index. And yes, we have a billion different things on this one, but this is what we are focusing on right now. And as you can see, we are quite low. We are within the extremely fearful zone at a 24 read. Now, a lot of the time people will bring up this and not reference it in chart format, which makes it, in my opinion, quite unrelatable. And this is also an underlying market dynamic to begin with, so it's removed from price action, although related to it. So at the end of the day, whenever we're talking about something like this, I want to be very deliberately clear. It needs to be matched up with tangible places on price action. So what this is useful for is it kind of gives us like the sentiment read on this market. And what's the old saying? It's something to the tune of, sell when others are greedy and buy when others are fearful. Something like that, right? And fair enough. There is some truth to that, but we need to make it tangible, right? There needs to be something that you can pull through on that. And just looking at this chart right here, you can actually match it up with price action as well. But more importantly, we can see that on the last few lows for Bitcoin, specifically the last major one at $40,000 in late September, we spent about 2 weeks, I'd say, in the very fearful zone, that is. For reference, the last macro low, not just the last weekly low, but the last macro low that we saw over the summer took about a little over 2 months in the extremely fearful zone as well. So it is typically a very good indication that we're a lot closer to the next major low than not. Even in some of the most bearish markets, you actually don't see it stay this low for this long, funnily enough. It was actually very interesting to watch in 2018, but I suppose I'm getting a little bit away from myself right now. Anyways, why is this relevant? Why am I bringing this up? Why should you even care? Well, we've been within the extremely fearful zone for about 2 weeks now. So this is very relatable to our last major low, the last weekly low, and not necessarily there in terms of the last macro low, about 30,000 bucks. But if you are still looking at Bitcoin as long-term bullish, which I do look at as a technical analyst and a trader, as long as Bitcoin's maintaining its weekly uptrend, which means that it is available as long as Bitcoin is effectively closing above $40,000, then I look at something like this as telling us that we're getting closer. We're getting very, very close there. Doesn't mean that it's over just yet, and we do expect it to kind of spend a little more time in there, actually. So again, if you reference the video that I put out, I believe yesterday on this channel, we went over a statistical analysis of the last 5 major tops and bottoms for Bitcoin and the amount of time that they've taken. And we found a nice relationship there, of which it did suggest that we're probably looking around a few weeks at minimum, and at most maybe 4 to 5 weeks on this current corrective drive right here, which does mean that Bitcoin could come lower, obviously. So let's go into the price action charts right now. I won't go over exactly yesterday's information because I don't think it's appropriate or needed for today. But basically, this is it. The same thing on price action as we had before. And if I were to just wrap up these, the lower term time frames very simply here, if I could go to the proper chart, that would be good. 46,500 still the big area for the short term. If Bitcoin closes below there, even on a 12-hour or especially a daily, I am looking for a bit of a dump back down to the very low $40,000 territory. Whether that be 42, 43, or maybe even 44, not a big deal. My main my main analysis on this is still very much the same. As long as Bitcoin is above the last weekly higher low, I treat anything above there as as another higher low, which is needed in your long-term uptrends, of course. So that would be fine. And of course, as long as Bitcoin holds above it, well, that is good, but it doesn't really do anything. And make no mistake about it, Bitcoin being down here, especially below $52,000 it is bearish, just lower lows and lower highs. And it's essentially been that way since, November 15th, I'd say, that little lower high right there. So what would make me a lot more enthusiastic about Bitcoin from a trending perspective? Well, I'd want to see Bitcoin again, in the same vein as yesterday, come back and pop back above the $54,000 level. Why that level? Why is that relevant? It's a 0.5 Fibonacci retracement right there. And more importantly, it is your structural breakdown region from your October and your more recent November consolidations right here. So popping back above there would indicate that, this would technically be a bit of a trap right here, to be fair, but it would indicate that, Bitcoin is in a much more strong position, and targets back up to $60,000 plus would very likely be relevant. If you want to go by the book, if you're the most conservative trader in the world, you'd be waiting for about $59,000. Fair enough, to each their own, of course. I'm just here to relate what's on the charts, not to give my personal thoughts on them. That is, of course, for you to do because, only you can make the best decision for yourself now, can't you? Because you know what your preference is best to begin with. Now, I would say this. Bitcoin back above $52,000, that will start to look quite good as well. We went over this yesterday, of course, and that's just your structural area. And then, of course, I won't go full into what we spoke about yesterday, but what we did see was a lot of points of confluence for many momentum oscillators and structural changes above that region, which would very likely at minimum test 54. And that's where, at least in my opinion, things do start to change around rather significantly. Until then, the hopium is that Bitcoin's put in a major low right here. If it falls through, I'm looking somewhere around, this area right here at about, let's just call it anywhere between about 43 and 44, let's say. And if that starts to fail, then, it's unlikely to be another higher low. I'd put it that way. Although technically speaking, it's not really until it takes out this low over here, which is admittedly just above $41,000. So with that in mind, let's move through some altcoins here, and we're going to do it the exact same way as yesterday, just good, bad, and do some rapid fire. So we'll start it off with BNB. By the way, do let me know in the comment section below what sort of altcoins you're looking at. Anyways, BNB below 513.5, bad. Looking for big breakdowns to fill your 4th of December wick down to 460 after that, maybe even a little bit lower towards 450. BNB above 617, or we could even say 610 in this case, looking pretty damn good for retest of prior highs, and very likely continuation of macro rallies. CRO, crypto.com. This one's rather interesting. This one certainly blew off its top not so long ago, so a lot more likely to be corrective than not, but fair enough. I'd still look at it in terms of ranges. Below 49 cents on a daily closure, bad. Above 77 cents on a daily, even just a wick in this case, very good and very likely ready to trend towards $1 and above again. This one does look rather corrective, though, I should say, and sideways within this range does absolutely nothing for me. We do see major extremes here, so it's likely looking for a bounce short term, however. Anyways, Axie Infinity, another favorite one, and what do we see right here? Hanging on to the lows by thread and needle, but I guess it's still doing it similar to Bitcoin right now. Below $96 bad, looking for big moves down towards the mid 70s, mid to upper 70s. Back above 147, very, very good. Very likely ready to trend towards new all-time highs after that. Until then, sideways here is, nothing doing. Above 124.5 would look a lot better for the short term, but again, doesn't really do much for the long term. Okay, this next one, Elrond, good Lord of the Rings token, of which I'm actually reading the first book right now. It's amazing, in fact, in case you're looking for something to do during the boring crypto times. That would be a good thing. Or at least that's something I would suggest. This one, big base at about $200, big problems below there, but for right now, range between about 330 and 200, which is a phenomenally massive range, is fine. I only turned super bearish on this one below about $200 on a daily closure. Until then, yeah, blew off its top. Yeah, it probably does trade a little bit down over the next few weeks here, but similar to Bitcoin above $40,000, I don't look at it as a full-on reversal on a macro scale just yet until $200 is taken out. Until then, corrective at best. A little bit of sideways action here is fine. And where did I get excited about this one yet again? This one's a little bit more difficult to get excited about anytime soon, but that would be $400. Above $400, good. All right, this next one, Sand, another, I think, metaverse token. This one putting in a bit of a bearish redistribution pattern over here in the formation of a descending triangle. I do think that this one trades a little bit sideways and down, to be fair. However, good above 580 and corrections over. Until then, you know, any price action down to about 380 to 390 is fine. Below there, the macro does start to change around quite a fair bit. Until then, you know, basically sideways between about 380 and that 590 number. Above 590, things start to look quite good. Okay, let's move on to the last one over here for Decentraland, actually. This is Mana, again, holding on to its last level by thread and needle right here. Below 312, bad. Looking for moves back down to about $2.50 and very likely another base there. And of course, this one, you know, very likely to correct for a long time here after doing a move like this, of course. Where I look at this one as good and ready to trend towards prior highs and new all-time highs. That topic becomes relevant back above about 464 on a daily. So all of these were pretty much done on daily closures. Understand where those are coming in from. And I suppose that we'll update on this as time moves onwards and forwards from here. So I think with that said, I'll be signing off. I want to remind you that there's also a link in the description below for a good old Bybit, of which I always want to be very adamant in saying, hey, while I'm not your dad, I do want to make sure that if you're not already a successful trader, it's unwise to be leverage trading. So if you are looking to learn how to trade, it would be a lot more wise to not risk any finances and paper trade or create a demo account. And I imagine Bybit probably has one of those. If they don't, then it's actually rather easy to find them pretty much all across the interwebs, and you'll be able to get some experience, try out some strategies, and not risk your finances. And then once you have some good history that it's actually working, then go ahead and perhaps consider put some money to risk. But of course, only then. But for the people who are already successful, well, that link is there for you. It will get you a reduced trading fee, stuff like that, and also a deposit bonus as well. So I think I'll leave it off right there. I want to wish you well, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.